I know that a lot of Protestants, they kind of make a big deal about the fact that Jesus never called Mary mom, that never called her mother, he called her woman. And that's a mistake that I don't think they're going to want to make, because that's actually going to make their case worse.
All right, let's see it.
Because when you read the Gospel of John, it's very clear that he wrote his Gospel. He was mirroring the book of Genesis. If you read the book of Genesis and you read the Gospel of John next to each other, it's clear that the Apostle John was rewriting Genesis. Genesis is the creation story, and the book of John is about the new creation story. Obviously, in the book of John, Mary is the new Eve in the new creation story.
So the Logos hymn in the first several verses of John chapter 1 is absolutely overlaying a Logos theology upon the beginning of the creation account. It begins the exact same way the Septuagint, the ancient Greek translation of Genesis 1:1 begins, but it is not a retelling of all of Genesis. It's not a retelling of the first 3 chapters of Genesis. It's really just the first part of Genesis 1, and there have been attempts to try to use the rest of Genesis 1 and the 7 days of creation as a template for understanding the first few chapters of the book of John. I think that's quite strained, but even if we accept that, this is still only Genesis 1. It's not Genesis 2 and 3.
And what a lot of people fail to realize is that in Genesis, 2, before the fall, Eve had not yet received the name Eve. Before the fall, she was called woman. Before they sinned, before the original sin, she was called woman. And Jesus, calling his mother, Mary, woman, he is doing so because he is identifying her with Eve, particularly with Eve before the fall. Harkening back to Genesis 3:15, Mary is the new Eve. She is the woman that was spoken about in Genesis 3:15.
So this is a creative reading, but it is eisegetic and it is not supported by any data. In addition to the fact that the overlaying of a Logos theology on the beginning of Genesis 1 does not indicate that we can read the characters from Genesis 2 and 3 into the rest of the Gospel of John, Jesus refers to every woman he addresses in the second person as Yine, woman. There are 4 different women he refers to this way. Twice he refers to Mary, his mother, as Yine, woman. Once he refers to the woman at the well. Once he refers to the woman taken in adultery. By the way, that is a later addition to the Gospel of John. It is not original to the Gospel of John. And once he refers to Mary at the tomb as Yine, woman. There are no data indicating there is something unique about his use of Yine in reference to his mother Mary, nor is there any support for the notion that the Gospel of John is somehow retelling the story from the Garden of Eden in Genesis 2 and 3.
So the Bible tells us in Luke 1, if that doesn't convince you, just go to Jude 1. It's the same term, it's the same phrase. She is without sin, she is sinless.
Now here this creator is referring to an argument that they have posted in another video about Mary having lived her entire life entirely sinless, and I'm going to have to respond to that argument in another video.